Hello. Oh, that's nice and loud. How's everybody doing? Good? Good? I almost don't need a mic, I can just yell, but I'm not going to do that. Mic helps. All right, well, we're going to get started. Thank you very much for everybody coming and plowing through the cold, rainy winter that we have now today in Canada. So we'll get started by saying thank you very much for coming today, guys. It's awesome. We have 4 great companies going to pitch, and we have lots of kind of exciting little news that's happening at the same time. So some statistics, I guess, highlights of 2018. We had 15 pitch events last year. We had 112 startups pitch at the event. On average, we're probably seeing about 130 startups a month. We certainly are not shy of seeing startups, so we do enjoy that. So if you guys are ever interested in pitching, feel free to send an email to info@opn.ninja, where we can root through that and book some time to sit down with you guys. Outside of that, we had some pretty cool stuff that happened at the City of Toronto, where we had over 330, which I think the number was close to 400 people that came to the event. And we just created a new deal with them too, where we're going to be running 5 events this year with them. So there's some cool things with that. We're trying to get the mayor to do our next opening keynote, which will be on February 27th. And we'll be pushing for that. The thing is, we don't find out until literally 12 hours or something before the event, because they don't like to open his schedule up until then. So we're going to try and push to have him again. We've had 9 investments to date, which is pretty cool, and today we're announcing that we will have our 10th. So we're actually investing in our 10th company today, which is a company out of Toronto, and we're pretty excited for that too. All right, so today is our 40th event. So we've been running it and operating for the last 2.5 years. We're in our 3rd year, if you will. And we have, I guess, hit a milestone. I guess anything is a milestone. Every time you get to a nice round number, you want to have a party. So we did have one last week. Even though we hadn't hit 40, we did anyhow. So we had our fun pitch, and we had a little social gathering after. And it was quite well. We had one of our angel investors from Tree Frog, Sean. His band played, and a few of you came to the event too, which was a lot of fun. So we're always out there hustling and trying to keep everybody in the ecosystem happy and excited for what we're doing. So on the social front, I implore all you guys to mostly social feed us, but join our Slack group. We have a great group where we tie in a lot of the startups, so you can ask questions, post comments, but we'd love to have everybody part of that group, especially when we have announcements of upcoming events or I guess parties, things like that. We always want to share everything we can in the ecosystem. So feed that out. And of course, we have lots of great content running on the YouTube channel. We run some video there, as well as anything and everything else on Instagram and throughout the feed. And you can hashtag us tonight too at PitchIt. So at OPM, we want to help you spend less time trying to find money and more time growing your business. And that's the motto we've been sticking by for the entire time that we've been doing this. And we do work hard to help you clean up and build out your business pitch and get ready for angel investing. We do have some great people that provide feedback inside of that when you do get to an event. And the cool thing that we've been doing and structuring over the last couple months is that we wanted to create kind of a little cleaner ecosystem for everybody, so that we can kind of run you through the whole system where you get more exposure and being able to have more opportunities to pitch. So we created a partnership with Seneca College in their new innovation center. So we're going to be running a pitch event every quarter with them, where there'll be 5 to 7 minute pitch. You'll have 6 to 8 companies pitching, and you'll be in front of a couple of angels at that point. At YSpace, we did the same. We'll be running 6 shows this year with them. And the same concept, it'll be 7 to 9 minute pitch. There'll be 2 angel investors and 1 business person. And then we will have City Hall, where we will have 6 events. This year, I believe, is actually 5. And we will do the same thing where you'll have a 9 to 11 minute pitch, and we'll have 3 companies pitching at that event. And there'll be 2 angel investors and 2 business profiles. And the idea behind it is that everybody's looking to get in front of not only angels to get feedback and to also get presence with them, but also at the same time, we're all looking to close a deal with some business that we can get into. So we're trying to tailor the people that would be sitting on the business side to be able to socialize, interact with the startups plus the crowd. So we'll be looking for more high-profile business types that can fit in and help out with that space. So it's kind of exciting. It's going back to our grassroots. That's how we started, and then we did all angels, and the angels said, "Hey, man, why don't we split this up and bring some more business people in?" So we thought it would be a great way to help the community try and find connections and sales. So it's pretty exciting. I should show more excitement, right? Yeah. All right, so here's kind of a whole snapshot of everything we've been doing over the last 3.5 years. Lots of people, lots of groups, all this good stuff, and we're pretty excited and pretty happy to be part of the community and growing with it. So, and it all comes down to you guys coming out. So we appreciate everybody and all the help they've been doing to help support what we're doing. Here's some of the companies, or all of the companies that have pitched at the events. There's a good chunk of businesses. We're gonna probably start layering on top soon, or people are gonna have to magnifying glass it, but at the end of the day, it's a good collection of great companies. A little bit about myself. Own and operate a software company called Heartboot, which Laura runs. So maybe I should say I'm in the background and Laura runs and operates Heartboot. We operate OPN, which is the Open People Network, which is why you're here today. And we created this event to give back to the startup community to help them get FaceTime and help them build through their pitch. It was created a few years ago when some of the companies that I had previously invested in said, "Hey, I need some time pitching. I need to get better at what I'm doing." And being in the angel world and seeing that a lot of the pitches were a little tougher back then, we figured, maybe we could help and we could give them a platform to speak and work their magic. And what's come out of it is 3 years later, 40 events, lots of pitching, and a lot of great companies that we've got to work with. So it's pretty exciting. And from there, we created an accelerator and a fund. So instead of investing directly myself, created a fund to help us invest into companies, and that's where today we made that 10th investment. So pretty excited about that. And the rest of the stuff you guys can look up on LinkedIn. I try to keep some stuff up there, so.
Good stuff's on Facebook.
Yeah, lots of good stuff on Facebook. I don't even know if I have Facebook, but yes, it's up there. Lots of stuff. The team, we have Laura over there, Katrina, she's there as well, and Brian on the camera and on the audio. So we gotta thank those guys because they're rock stars for coming out every time and helping us out. Thank you. So by the minute, something that's exciting that we want to share is City Hall is coming up on February 27th. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. It is our bigger of events. We will have showcasing probably 20 to 30 companies. They did do a rehaul at the venue, but then they told us it wasn't that much of a rehaul, so who knows. But it is inside of the chambers at City Hall. And we do get anywhere between 300 to 500 people. So it's a pretty fun and eventful space. So you guys got to come check that out. And we'll have 3 companies pitching. So we wouldn't be here today if we didn't have some great partners. As I mentioned, software company, Heartboot. Big fans, they've been following us the whole time. Global Payments is a great partner in the back. Sean. One Core Media, which is Igor. And our latest partner that's come on to help is Bateman, and that's Alex in the front. On the accounting side, our legal side, we've had Miller Thompson, who's been kind of with us almost since the beginning. One of the companies that we've invested in through the fund and multiple times is Flow Water, and you guys will see the Flow Water at the front. And to plug in at the same time, you'll find that there is another product there, which is called Mindful. And they are a tea-based company that is co-packed by Flow, but is also built by the people that work inside of Flow that created a new brand. and they are now pushing this company out as a co-partner. And the people at Flow actually invested in Mindful to help Matthew, who is the owner of the company, build the product out. So quick facts, we're trying to have them come in and sit on a panel at the PitchIt TO City Hall. But Flow has 15,000 locations that their water's carried in North America and worldwide, and going worldwide to 30,000 this year. And with their product, in the 4 years that they've done that with the new product, they closed the deal right away before even launching the product that they're carried across Whole Foods, North America wide. So that's going to launch in February. And that's the product you guys are drinking right now if you're having the tea. That's the new up-and-coming product that they're co-packing. So it's pretty exciting what these guys are doing, and we've been with them and following them the whole time. So System Bind is our hosting providers, so they make sure everything's up and running all the time. York Angels and Startup York, all big fans of helping along the way and being part of everything that we do in York region. And of course, our key partner to all of this, which we discussed a little bit earlier, which is YSpace and the Innovation York. So thank you guys for all your support. And Innovation York's at the back, so you guys have any questions? Thank you guys very much. All right, hopefully you guys dropped your business cards off because we have giveaways. We like to give stuff away because everybody likes free stuff, right?
Yes.
Of course, especially when you get a case of water, man, who doesn't want that? Because I don't want to have to carry it to my car either, so this is a good win-win situation. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of us so we can ask them. We do like to have a quick ask Q&A session, and we like good questions, so anything that we can direct to the Angel Group, we'll do that. So the format for today, as we discussed, it is 7 to 9 minute pitch. There will be 1 minute feedback from each advisor. The feedback is unsolicited, meaning that they get to say something nice and mean and tough, because that's how these guys are. Look at them, they look tough and mean, and they're gonna say some real good direct feedback. And the startup will just thank and say thank you and work on to the next comments. Ideally, we could be here all night if we did take feedback and go back and forth, so we try to keep that to the next portion, which is the 5 minutes of Q&A. So when we do that Q&A, you guys can put together those great questions, and we'll make sure that they get answered. So the 3 people on the panel for today, as we mentioned, Igor, he is One Core Media. He's an advisor and investor and has a marketing strategy and SEO company, and they came to be partners with us. I've known Igor for a few years, and it just made for a great fit to help what we were doing. So let's thank Igor for jumping in and helping us out today. Lyle Clark, he's a lawyer, owns a company. He is an investor, very smart gentleman. Anything else you want me to throw in? He's good looking. Got mad at me for not sending him the right details. Outside of that, great guy. Known him for a couple years in the angel world, and he's certainly making a difference. And the great thing is that he's not afraid to lay down what he thinks is right. At the same time as investing in companies, which is a great thing when you're in this space. Thank you, Lyle. Angelo Del Duca, I think you guys probably, hopefully all know who he is by now. He is the pioneer in the investment space. He's been working from the government side investing all the way through to being York Angels Angel of the Year 2 years ago. Friend, colleague, everything. Angelo's pretty awesome. Engineer, sold a company like a few years ago, and many years ago. But he carries a lot of knowledge, and he's a great guy to sit down and pick brain with. So always welcome you guys to reach out to him. And we thank you, Angelo, for coming here. All right, so who's pitching? We got Epicator, Staffy, Sonnet Labs, and Single Key. And we're going to get this party started. So, Mr. Epicator, you're up.
Oh, no worries. Don't. I'm good.
Yeah.
first awkward question out of the way. I'm just coming off an eye infection, so I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm going to get no questions at the end of my pitch.
And the mic.
All right, well, my name's David Ahola from Epicators.
Some of you guys may know me as the Epic Delivery Guy, Epic Dishwasher, Epic Dude, or the asshole that came late with the food that one time. I have many different names, but for the most part, David works just fine. I could go into a little bit of a song and dance as to what I did previously. Does anyone really even care what I did previously? Yes. Secretly, no one really cares. That's deep down inside. Sales for most of my life. A lot of the time I spent building sales teams. So I've been in the startup world for quite some time. There once was a time in Toronto where being in a startup wasn't cool. I know this because I'd have to explain to all my dates, my parents, why I don't have a real job. But it actually kind of helped out a lot later on, turns out. So what does Epicator do, apart from making really bad pitch decks? So essentially, we help companies implement meal programs on time, on point, and on budget. I'm not going to get into the song and dance about why a company should be implementing a food and beverage program every single day. There's a lot of great benefits, but the challenges that they find is how to do it. And no matter who you ask, there's not one single consistent way that every company is following currently to implement these programs. They're costly a lot of the time, and if left unchecked, they can become a big pain in the neck for a company to do. And what we do is we kind of put our own little flavor on it, and we make it easy for that company, and we do it so surprisingly quite low tech. So really, this is like the cycle or the chain of the food industry right now. What we're focusing on is finding amazing vendors and getting amazing food products to the customer being a company. So a lot of the time, the problem starts with when a tech company decides that they want to implement a meal program. Chances are they've either tried it previously before through an online ordering system. Maybe it was Uber Eats that they were using when they're an office of 5 people. That all of a sudden doesn't become very scalable when you're an office of 50 people anymore. Maybe you switch to something else. Perhaps you're just using a single caterer all the time. That office then all of a sudden might start getting something what we call food fatigue, where when you get a perk, it's a lot of fun for the first month, but then as time progresses, you get used to that perk, and it's really no longer a perk. You're just kind of expecting it. And the same thing applies to food. I'm sure everyone here has a parent that can make an amazing meal and brag about it, but I'm sure when you were growing up as a kid eating that meal every single day, you were dying to try someone else's. So same condition when you have a caterer provide you all your meals. And what we do to solve that problem is we enroll awesome vendors. A lot of these places are not very big big caterers. They're small mom and pop shops that haven't been really heard of before but have an amazing product. And we give them the details as to what we're looking for on behalf of the client. They put the order through, they curate it the way that we want it to based on the data that we have from that client. They deliver it, and what the client gets is an amazing meal setup that psychically fits everyone's dietary preferences, that's delivered on time, on point, and more importantly, some of the time, within budget. And because we're utilizing vendors that have a lower overhead, they don't have large operations somewhere, they're usually working out of a small commissary kitchen, we're able to pass on the savings to the client. So we're essentially doing meal programs between $8 $12 a person, which is relatively low in terms of what the market price on a meal would be. This is our current system right now. As you can see, it's super high tech. The account manager will deal with the client, then present the client with a few variety of options if we don't have them signed on a contract for every single day. Food will show up. We have usually someone on site. We call these auxiliary members, and they'll just make sure that the food's set up, temperature control's there, that there's a natural flow, labels are presented, and essentially that the employees are spending as little time as possible getting their meals and that the meal's amazing. We then collect the feedback, usually through a survey that goes out to every employee, getting information as to how the meal was, if they choose to share it, any detailed feedback they'd like to give us. We upload that into our system, and then we make future tweaks for future lunches. So essentially, the company wins. The office manager, who normally had to take care of this whole thing, looks awesome in front of their colleagues, because their colleagues think they're the ones that are implementing it, and it's a win-win situation. The funny thing is that despite with all the other food tech companies that have started right now, food tech's not the most trendiest thing anymore because there's a lot out there. We're still finding and servicing, in our opinion, a very underserved market. A lot of these companies used to get catered services from a competitor,
but they're suffering from low-tech challenges. And it's not that there's not an app that they're happy with. It's simply that food's not as good as they thought it was a year into the game. The pricing's gone up. It could be anything. So some of our current client customers could be Shopify, Coca-Cola, Well-Simple, Breather, just to name a few. Interesting thing as to last year, so we've been around in business now for 4 years, 4.5 roughly. We've had a hockey stick trajectory, if you may. It doesn't look like a hockey stick, but when you add them all together, it does. Last year was a little bit of a tougher year, so we kind of made a couple cardinal sins. We've been operating with just one salesperson up until this year, which isn't the greatest. We've been surviving just simply off of organic inbound traffic, and we put a lot of our eggs into one basket a little bit early on last year. And unfortunately, when you put all your eggs in one basket, that basket leaves, so do your eggs. So we have learned a lot from that experience, and we've diversified our portfolio of clients. We no longer just target large corporations, but we've also been able to make plans for medium-sized and even small-sized businesses too. That way, our client scale is more diversified, and we're able to capture a larger piece of the market and not just be so reliant on big companies that get meals every single day. So some of our competition, in terms of online ordering platforms, you have players like Foodie, Platters, and Hunger Hub. When it comes to larger catering companies, the challenges that we've been having really have been with Aramark, some with Sodexo and Compass Group. These companies have been around for almost 100 years, and they've been able to champion certain aspects of their product, and we're really quickly catching on to what we're doing and making big gains this year. What we do better is, according to our clients, we're much easier to use. In terms of relationships, we're more focused on that, and we take a much more of a hands-on approach when it comes to servicing a customer. We can safely say 99% time savings, because as a customer, you do nothing. We just send you a proposal, and you accept it, and you tell us you don't like it. We do all the work and revamping it, and we send it back to you. So essentially, it's automated. That 1% is just you opening up your email and saying, I like this month's menu, let's go with it. Or I don't like it, let's go with this. And then we make the changes for you. Our prices are fixed. Some of our clients have been on the same price for 4 years, despite market prices in the food industry going up. Some places it costs you $18 to buy a burger. We're still servicing customers at $8, and they're super happy with that. And overall, a better experience, because what we're really looking for is it's not just about the food for us, but the experience that goes behind it. We understand that a client, when they implement a meal program, they're not doing it because they're philanthropists and they want to make sure every human being's fed. They're doing it because they want to maximize the productivity of their employees, and we want to make sure that whatever we send them that way is not only healthy and making the employees happy, but adding value to that overall mission for that client. Also, our variety is there because we work with over 60 different vendors, so chances are if you're getting meals every single day, you're only getting a repeat once every 3 months, unless you specifically request for it. You're supporting local developing businesses. A lot of the time, the people delivering the food is the mom, the dad, the owner of the establishment. And I'm sure anyone here who's dealt with a small business, a lot of the time the small businesses that care show they care even more because they're dealing with the proprietor. And we're big on that. We feel that when we're working with a small business and leveraging them up so they can play just as hard as the big players out there, our clients get a bigger return than they would with a larger corporation. We're also getting into other things like soft kitchen builds for other clients as well, but in the interest of time, I won't get too much into that. So some financial projections and key metrics, if everyone can read that. You can see our sales numbers to the left. 2018 in review, we had 70 clients in Toronto, feeding roughly around 7,000 people per week. This is the 4th year of lean development for us, meaning that we're not a funding company whatsoever. We've bootstrapped ourselves up to this point. Diversification of sales portfolio, which I was telling you guys a little bit about before. And scaling a sales team is key to our growth. One of the major breakthroughs we came through this year is actually coming up with a system where we can hire a sales team at multiple levels. So that way we have a sales system that's conducive for top closers that can come into Applicator, work in the company, and make skywards of above 60K. We're big on that. We don't want to hire salespeople that can actually make 100 calls to make 40K a year. We want to make sure everyone in the company is paid well and that the opportunity is there. Because the way we look at it, if we can attract talent rather than constantly having to sell them to work for us, we're doing something good in the food and hospitality space. So what investing will do at this point is it'll help us accelerate the scaling of our sales team. It'll also help us accelerate new market expansion. These are all things that we're doing anyways, but obviously with a little bit of additional capital, we don't have to be so conscious of our cash flow. We can put more aggressive plays into some of these key areas. Another one would be marketing and lead gen. We have no one that does marketing in the company. We just have an intern that does lead generation for us. It's going over well, but we obviously can do much better. So what is our ask? What we're asking for is for $500,000, $500,000 for 7%. The math, so what I did is I took the best of my grade 12 education of math, and I put it all onto this chart. And what we have here is, can't see the bottom of it, unfortunately, but I took two from medium, two industries, a brick and mortar industry and a service-based business, found the average multiplier, I lowballed it, went to 2.5, and took last year's revenue, multiplied it by 2.5, got the total. That's essentially what we've been getting. I'm seeing a lot of nods of approval over there in the panel. That's essentially what we got our current partners on. And it's worked out well so far. Some of the areas that we'd be using the funds. All right, we'll just look at the bottom of the slide. It's here.
10 seconds.
All right, I'm gonna skip all this other nice stuff. Yeah, all right. Thank you for your time.
Perfect, thank you. The mic was kind of choppy. I'll steal that. Now you can talk, so I'll hand this over to you guys.
You want me to start?
You get to start.
I get to start.
You got 1 minute. See what you got.
Okay, 1 minute. Pitch was good. I mean, your presentation style is good. You've got a handle on what your business is about and you're confident. But I learned nothing about what makes the business something I want to invest in, other than your sales growth is pretty good and you seem to be finding a niche. I have no idea what your margins are. I have no idea what your profitability growth looks like. And I couldn't read a lot of your slides.
Yes.
So I spent a lot of time wondering where the investment opportunity is in this.
Yes.
And you spent 90% of your time convincing me that I want to sign up for your service. 10% of your time tops convincing me that it's a company I want to invest in.
Yes. Thank you for the feedback.
Well said. I guess first of all, well said. Okay, it's a good energy, good presentation. I like it. From a marketing standpoint, okay, I think your value proposition is a little bit too general. Like for example, personal planners very well. So when you put the differentiator between you and them, okay, you need to be more specific because when you say you have a better service, I think I agree that first of all, the presentation should be shorter in terms of straight to the point. I have no idea about the marketing, like how you're planning to do that, and I think you should focus because you're in the marketing business at the end of the day. Okay, this is all online. And valuation, I think it's a little bit aggressive, and where the investment is going to go, no matter what. Okay,
Yeah.
It's more specific, so that's my feedback.
Thank you very much.
Good presentation, David, and your shades look pretty cool.
Thank you.
There are a few things that I think could really strengthen your value proposition to the investors. What I like to see is you went through as to what the problem is that you're trying to tackle. What I typically like to look at is, well, what's the value of that problem that you're trying to tackle? So the savings in time, the diversification, all of those things, what would that save your end customer, right?
Yes.
So attaching a dollar value to it would really help. I like the fact that you have a feedback mechanism into your solution so that you can refine and strengthen your offerings to customers. The use of funds is good. On the valuation side, I'd like to see, it wasn't clear to me whether your revenues, the $3 million revenues, are your actual revenues or those are your transaction amount.
Yes.
And in terms of valuation, you shouldn't be using the transaction amount,
Yes.
but you should actually be using your take of the amount, which may lower what that valuation is.
Yes.
The other factor is the good customer list that you have. And I agree with you, companies in the early stage, the biggest challenge that they have is they land that big one and then rely so much on that big one, and then when they disappear, boom, it really hurts you big time. So I think if you can strengthen those items, I think you'd have a better presentation that can demonstrate to the investors this is something that I want. One last thing is you should talk about your moat in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
That would prevent others from replicating your model and just doing the same thing that you're doing.
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'll give you this mic.
Oh, thanks, brother. What's that?
Who's got questions? Chris.
Hey, good presentation. I think the elephant in the room for me is the fact that your sales dropped by $500,000 last year.
Yes.
And you addressed it, but then you kind of like ran away from it. So I think an investor would want to know, okay, tell it, like, what did you learn? Why did it happen? What would prevent it from happening again? And, you know, is the rest of your client roster susceptible to the same thing that caused that? Or is it really just an anomaly? I think you might have give us a little more detail. We'd appreciate what you went through last year a bit more.
Yeah, you're right. I probably should have gone into a little bit more detail than just drop that bombshell of information. Thank you.
So to his question, were you able to correct the position that you were at then versus now?
Oh, absolutely. It took us a little bit longer than we anticipated for a rebound. Actually, no, it took us a little bit quicker than we anticipated, but the rebound's a little bit longer because it was a larger account. It was a little bit more of a multifaceted correction. One of the corrections that we had is that when we were developing relationships with the client, those relationships were only office manager deep. So what that could often mean is that a competitor could develop a relationship from head office at a higher level, and we'd have no idea what was going on because the office manager is more, how do I put it? Sometimes they care more about their job than the overall general goal of what that office is. So that was the first mistake we made. The second one, and I think this is something that with any service-based business that if you're not careful will creep up on you, is we rely heavily on account managers to solve problems internally. So for any reason, if an account manager over their life cycle at Epicator gets unmotivated, or for any reason or another just drops the ball on creativity, the client gets affected, and sometimes we have no idea that they're being affected. So we've also, that's more of a long-term improvement mechanism. To say that we've completely rehired and everything's perfect again would just be utter BS, but definitely something that we're looking at. It's not easy to fix because it's a people problem, not a tech problem, but what makes us excited about these problems, it means that our competitors are equally as susceptible to them as well, and if we find a better way to fix it, that could be one of the reasons why we end up being on top later on down the road.
Good.
As an investor, also building companies, the three most important slides, 2 or 3, the client list, 3 million in sales, no information about profitability, is echoing what was said on the panel, no information on profitability growth. So if you just take away 60% of the slides and add profitability, add strategy on the client base, are you going to grow the specific clients you have already, or are you going to get equivalent new clients, showing that you know how to scale the business and what's the easiest way of scaling it? So profitability, growth, strategy on client development, and 30, 40, 50% of slides you don't need.
All right, that saves me a lot of time in the future.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to know how you land Uber as your client and they don't even use Uber Eats.
Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah. So can you tell me how you land that client?
Well, first and foremost, when we have meetings with them, I never bring that. I feel like that's the elephant in the room. We just kind of assume that when it comes to their own internal product, that they're on a budget too. And I'm not going to disclose what their budget is, but as most tech companies out there that have shareholders, they want to get the best product for the lowest price. And I think that they, can't speak on their behalf, but perhaps that they've acknowledged that their product in their minds is probably the best, and I'm not going to take that away from them. But is it the best price? And I think that's what's led them to look elsewhere. But maybe I should find out.
It's a good question to ask. All right, one more question. So in your plans for expansion, how does this work? What are you looking for inside of the Toronto market? Do you start to move into Montreal, Vancouver? How do you go about that?
Very good question. So two aspects of our expansion plan right now. One is geographic, and the other one's channel. Geographic is essentially doing the same thing that we're doing in Toronto in a different market. Channel is, right now we're only focusing on really tech companies and companies that get meals on a regular basis. We've had a lot of interest to doing events and whatnot, and we get inbounds for those. Challenge is that we don't have anyone internally that's an event planner, and some of these events that we're getting requests for are very high touch. Corporate events, mind you, but stuff that we could lose our credibility on if we ever drop the ball. So we see that as a very lucrative channel. There's also other sales channels out there, production companies. And then there's a new channel that we just started called On Demand. So one of the challenges that we had previously is that if someone just called us out of the blue, asked us for a one-off order, our margins on those are really tight. And we essentially turned those down and even recommended them to go other places that it's a little bit more transactional. But we've made some internal marginal adjustments. Yeah, I probably should disclose this information because it goes into profitability, but we've made on-demand more profitable, and now we can scale a sales team that's 3 levels deep. Sales individual, team lead, sales director. That way we don't just have a team full of salespeople and one manager running 50 salespeople in the future. We can actually develop a curriculum for salespeople internally, and the goal is to attract the best and the brightest in the food and hospitality space.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, Staffy, you're up. Oh no, sorry, my bad. It's Sonnet Labs. Okay. All right, let's hear it. Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Boken, and I'm here to talk about my startup, Sonnet Labs. My name is fairly easy to remember, it's just the broken no R. So we all know that the Internet of Things is one of the fastest growing trend in recent years. But what we don't typically think about is the fact that IoT is really built on the fundamental assumption that the users and the devices are always connected. We don't think about this often because communications infrastructure is fairly ubiquitous all around us. But the fact is, without the existence of existing infrastructure, IoT wouldn't be possible. And as a result of that, many industries have been left behind by the IoT revolution. Industries like mining, forestry, agriculture, oil and gas, they do the majority of their work in fairly remote locations without any infrastructure set up. So instead of automating a lot of their workflow using cutting-edge IoT technologies, they essentially waste billions of dollars every year doing things manually using very outdated technologies like walkie-talkies. But what if we can create a way that allows them to deploy a network no matter where they are? Well, at Sonnet, that's exactly what we do. So at Sonnet, we build a portable device that uses long-range mesh network to allow people to create a IP-based network that they can use to deploy different IoT devices. The way it works is fairly simple. So traditionally, if you have a sensor, you typically need to rely on some type of a backbone network to send the information that it has collected to either a on-premise server or the cloud for storage. But when the network is unavailable, it typically can't just send the data on its own. And what people tend to do is they use underground wire to do that. But underground wire tends to be very expensive, both to install as well as to maintain. But that's where the Sonnet comes in. By connecting your devices to the Sonnet, it can now use the long-range mesh network in the device to send the data back. And currently, the Sonnet has a point-to-point range of 5 to 10 kilometers. And not only can it communicate point-to-point, we've also built a very advanced mesh networking technology that allows data to be routed through other devices in the area so that it can drastically increase the effective range. So we first launched the Sonnet on crowdfunding and raised more than $480,000. These are some of our customer lists. It includes many Fortune 100 companies as well as different government agencies. So for example, we are currently doing a pilot with Capital Drilling, which is one of the world's largest mining companies. And they're using the Sonnet to establish a mesh network that allows their field workers to synchronize the real-time GPS location data. And that's very important to them because it allows their field management office to keep all of their field workers safe during the excavation process, which often involves the use of explosives. We're also doing a pilot with the Clean Energy Division at Siemens, and they are essentially building wind turbines, and they're using the Sonnet mesh network to remote control the PLCs in the wind turbine, as well as to collect different sensor data. So in terms of our business model, our core technology is the Sonnet mesh networking protocol, and we're making money by charging a licensing fee of $1 per device per month. Now, our customer can either choose to source the hardware themselves and run our mesh networking protocol on it, or they can also buy a hardware that we are designing and manufacturing. And currently, we're retailing our hardware at $89 each, and our cost of goods sold is $35. That gives us a approximately 60% margin. And right now, we're also doing a cost down on our hardware, and by mid this year, we expect to be able to reduce our cost of goods sold to about $25. And on top of the retail cost, our customers, if they're buying the hardware from us, will also be collecting a 20 to 30% per year maintenance fee to keep the firmware on the device up to date, and as well as to help them with any technical problems. In terms of competition, the Sonnet is the only long-range industrial mesh network on the market. So comparing to something like satellite communication, the upfront investment, both in terms of hardware as well as the ongoing data cost, is much lower. Comparing to cellular connectivity, the Sonnet works anywhere, and it does not require it to be in the presence of any tower for it to work. And comparing to a low-power wide area network like LoRa, it also does not require any expensive gateway to be deployed in order to form a network. And comparing to other industrial mesh networks like Zigbee, Sonnet has a much longer point-to-point range, and that allows it to be deployed in fairly remote environments, whereas Zigbee is primarily used still in the city. So we believe this is a huge opportunity because we think IoT is going to continue to grow, and we also think there are 3 different segments of the IoT market that we can play a pretty big part in. And among these 3 segments, the fastest growing one is the low power wide area network, which a lot of industrial companies are using to deploy different sensor networks. And because we are much more cost effective compared to all the other LP-WANs on the market, we think we can grow very, very quickly in this segment of the market. So in order to realize this vision, we have assembled a very experienced team. So right before this, I was the co-founder and CEO of another IoT platform company called Onion. And we built a hardware platform that made it very easy for developers to create connected devices. And we were able to scale from about 5,000 users to about 100,000 within about a year and a half. And our CTO, Jimmy, he was the director of R&D at Haier Group, which is China's largest major appliances manufacturer. And while he was there, he first started to use mesh networking technologies to remote control industrial appliances. And before Haier, he worked at the Chinese Space Agency, where he created communication protocol for rockets and satellites. And our chief marketing officer, Randolph, he was the senior analyst at Interbrand, which is one of the world's largest branding consultancy. And while he was there, he worked on the branding programs for technology companies like Microsoft and Samsung. So with his experience, we believe we have what it takes to build a brand that our customers can recognize and trust fairly quickly. So currently we're doing a $500,000 US dollar seed round. The proceed of the fund will primarily be used to grow our R&D team. And our goal by the end of the year is to convert at least 5 of our pilots into actual contracts and to raise our Series A by the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was awesome.
That was awesome. Very polished. I heard you talking about being nervous before this. You didn't seem nervous at all to me. Very well structured presentation. You got to the problem quickly. You got to your solution quickly. You convinced me, although Not totally, but you convinced me that you've got the solution. And I wouldn't spend any more time on that. That would be a big part of the due diligence going forward. You got to your business model quickly. You showed me some numbers quickly. And you got to your team. But it does raise a couple of questions for me in your presentation. Your revenue model of $1 US, was it per month, per device? So I like the recurring revenue model, but I'd love to see a margin stack for that $1 and how it grows as you scale up. Because I wasn't sure from your presentation where you reach profitability and at what point in your growth curve do the numbers start to look really good. So that time, how much time does my money have to be in there? The other thing you could touch on are exit opportunities. I think I sense there are a number of exit opportunities which would be attractive for this. All of that is just stuff you can add and could come in due diligence later. The one real question mark that scared me at the end was you want to put your raise into R&D. And then I go, does technology not yet work? So if you're going to use the money for R&D, tell me what that means in terms of the performance of the product in the field, because that's what raised the question for me, that your product maybe isn't ready for the field yet. So you need to answer that, I think, as part of your presentation.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's an excellent presentation. Okay, you didn't seem nervous, and for me it was almost perfect presentation. Okay, but there are some. I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said. Okay, a lot of things excellent. You have an excellent team. I have to admit, you have an excellent business model, especially recurring, that everybody likes. There's a few points I would actually advise to touch is more about customer acquisitions. Okay, like how you're going to acquire the customers. Okay, even if you have a very, very solid portfolio of clients. Also, I would like to know, okay, what does it take to acquire the client? Okay, what is the average spend of each client? Because maybe you need only 5 clients. Okay, it's going to be $5 million in revenue. Okay, maybe you need 500 clients. We really don't know. Okay, so and I mean the fact that you have a good team that probably know what they do, especially about the marketing. That's my field. Would be nice to include how you can scale on the marketing side and on the sales side. What does it take? How many salespeople you need? And the investment about R&D, yeah, it's a little bit scary. Also, I agree. And perhaps, okay, what's the projection for the company? Like, where you want to see yourself in 3 years? Okay, how big it can be? Because it's hard to understand. Especially, this is the field that most of the people don't really know.
Good seeing you again, Boken. I'm not going to repeat the items that my 2 colleagues have already mentioned. They really touched on a lot of important points. I do want to go more towards the strength that you have in terms of the pre-sales. You have 400 and some odd thousand in pre-sales. My question would be, have you fulfilled those pre-sales? Is the raise that you're looking for going to be used to fulfill those sales? And if you do that, is there going to be enough to accomplish your objectives with whatever is left? In addition, and we touched on this last time we chatted, is there any IP that you have in place to prevent others from replicating your technology, just buying it and then just duplicating it? And also, on the valuation side, you talked about the ask, but I didn't get a real good sense unless I was jotting points down, but I definitely didn't hear it, what your valuation is and how you come up to that valuation. Yeah, so that's really the point, but I really like what you have. And I do like that you have both streams, the product cost and also recurring revenue model.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Hi, who's questions?
Thanks, Morgan. That was an awesome presentation. As a fellow entrepreneur, I'm actually very curious to learn a bit more about your crowdfunding campaign for $450,000. What platform you used, how you did that, What was your message?
So when we launched the crowdfunding, it was actually aimed at outdoor enthusiasts, so people who do a lot of hiking and camping outdoors. So one of the reasons why we need R&D dollars is because some of our customers have been requesting enterprise management features. So we need to build out some of that in order for the IT departments in these companies to better deploy and manage these devices out in the field. So we launched it first as a consumer product, and the platform that we used was Kickstarter first, and then we transfer over to Indiegogo's in demand. This is the third crowdfunding campaign I've done. So I've had quite a bit of crowdfunding experience. So if you need any help on there, I'd be more than happy to provide some advice.
Okay, great.
Hi, nice to meet you. Firstly, I just wanted to understand a little bit more about the pricing model you presented. So I work extensively in enterprise Wi-Fi. We work with a majority of the Ontario school boards, large enterprises. The pricing that you're providing there, we're charging anywhere upwards of $1,000 a piece. For $89 US, and then a $1 monthly fee. Just something's not adding up. I just kind of wanted to understand from your cost perspective, why wouldn't you charge more, right? These are enterprise clients that you're dealing with at the end of the day.
Yeah, so the reason why we haven't increased the price of the hardware is also because we started out as a consumer product, and we've already announced the price as $89. It's very hard for us to increase the price because our customers would come to us and say, oh, you were selling it just a month ago at $89, why you're certainly jacking up the price to like $1,000 a month. But in terms of the recurring piece, where we are trying to peg it against narrowband IoT price right now, and approximately anywhere between like 50 cents to $5 per month, and we think $1 per month per device is a good initial number for us, and then eventually we can provide additional upsell, on top of that.
Am I allowed to ask a follow-up question? Is that allowed? But it's not a consumer product, right? From what I understood from the beginning of your presentation, this is an enterprise-grade product meant for places that are very scarce in terms of their network connectivity, right? So given that, I think you have a potential of making 100, 200 times what you had projected there. It's quite more valuable than what I think you initially thought. The consumer side of it, not a lot of people are doing that.
So with some of our customers right now, they are in fact paying us a NRE to create a customized version of the hardware, and we're essentially turning that into an opportunity where we can create the second generation of the Sonnet, and with that we will be charging a much higher price because it's facing specifically at the industrial customers.
I think it might help too to share how many devices someone would actually require on site. I'm assuming it's not one.
It really depends on the use case. So for example, capital drilling, right now they're only testing out about 10 of them, but in an actual deployment, they're looking at anywhere between 150 to 250 per mine, and they control 12,000 mines all over the world. So if the pilots were successful, it can scale fairly quickly. But for Siemens, each field of wind turbine, there's only about 50 wind turbine in each field, so they will only be deploying 50 in each patch.
Okay, perfect.
Just a perspective for people who do invest. I invest in the person, in the passion, in the glimmer in the person's eyes, not the business plan. So I'm not fussed about the $1 model. They can pivot, they can change it anytime they feel like it. To his point, my neighbor, it's the application's industrial. You're not bound by anything you've done anywhere else in the past. The team's incredible. I assume the technology R&D funding will go towards the patenting the bridge between you implied bank encryption for security and 407 line of sight technology combined is the implication of what I saw. You know what you're doing. I'd be an investor.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. We've got time for one question.
Well, it's really freaky when you look at the slide and you go, that looks like one of my former employees, Junmin Gao. And I texted him, and he goes, yeah, that's him. So he's your CEO. So that was weird. I can attest to his technical abilities because he was amazing, and everything you said is correct about it. Which was really freaky. I go, Tim, is that you? He goes, yeah, that's me. Okay. The thing that I think you're challenged with is you got an amazing technology. I don't doubt that. Line of sight that you talked about. But what's happening is that you have to customize it to each industrial client. This is not a consumer play. It's really an industrial play. So I think that's where your challenge is going to be. And the panel probably recognizes that. And that's where the money's going towards. Why don't you just take one client, develop an application just for them, for their entire network, and then grow from there rather than try and get the whole pie in the world, because you're going to spread yourself too thin.
Actually, that's what we want to do. With the 10 pilots that we have chosen right now, so as a company, we're still doing a lot of learning, because right now we don't know what the technology is best suited for. So we want to get a few pilots going just so that we can test the water for each of the markets. And then once we have identified a market that we can potentially scale in, then we'll be more focused on these use cases.
I'm going to ask for your help with crowdfunding.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got another job here working crowdfunding. All right, thank you very much. So the next thing we're going to jump into is we try to do a question for the advisory panel. So Angela, we'll start with you. So one of the questions that I get asked all the time, and I'm sure you guys do, and it kind of came up today, and that question is, when it comes to building your company, startup stage, seed, up to series, is being profitable important to an angel investor?
Doesn't hurt.
Never does.
It never hurts. I don't fixate on it too much. What I need to see is their growth strategy and how sound that growth strategy. I also acknowledge, especially a company in the early stage, they're not going to be profitable, and it's going to take some time to demonstrate their value to their customer base and build that bottom line. But I do like to see a team that has an appreciation for profit and conducting business that is leading them towards profitability. But from an investment, I look at more of the growth and does the team have the ability to execute. The biggest challenge I see is a lot of companies have wonderful ideas, actually have wonderful customer potential, but can't actually execute and deliver on those opportunities. And sometimes having too many opportunities and being extremely embraced by the marketplace could actually be a nail in the coffin, because they can't manage that growth. So I look at both ends. Can they manage it, and their vision on how to become profitable.
Okay. You guys have any comments?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think I just add to that is what's more important to me is what that path to profitability looks like. When are they going to get to cash flow positive and not need more money? Do they have enough? Are they asking for enough money to get them to that cash flow positive position? Or do I invest today and only find 2 years in a row, 2 years from now they're back in my pocket again? So they don't need to be profitable today. If they're profitable today, there probably wouldn't be the upside to the investment that we'd be looking for at this stage. So a path to profitability, one that we can have confidence in, is the key.
And I guess, okay, I add on my side, okay, from a marketing again standpoint, because most of the investment we do, it's when we have a clear path to marketing. So I think it is important to understand how it's going to be done. Because a lot of people, okay, they ask for money, they get the money, okay, because they have a very polished pitches and etc. Okay, but the problem is when they start burning the money, okay, and then realize, okay, well, I need more money for marketing. Apparently I don't have a marketing team, and I need, okay, so just
all I need to do is just the marketing. Okay, so I'll figure something out, okay, later. But the problem is today's marketing is one of the most expensive activities, one of the most expensive activities in the business. There's other important activities, but I think that's important to understand as well.
No, that's perfect. So I guess to summarize, it's key to have a great execution team, being able to look into the future and figure out, okay, can I be profitable? Do I have the right people to get me to profit? And as an example, one of the interesting things is one of the companies that we invest in, a lot of the time when you get a lot of money, the excitement of I've just been hustling for the last 2 years, you almost feel, I got money. And you kind of settle down and you start to think, now I can spend, now I can do things, now I've got some breathing room. And a lot of the time what the startups forget, or the business forgets, is that money runs out pretty quick. I don't know if you guys watch Dragon's Den and everything else, where the person goes on and they're like, I'm looking for $100,000 to build X. And what are you going to do with $100,000? You're going to be burned through that in like 10 minutes. And that's because marketing costs a lot of money. Executing your plan to get in front of more clients costs a lot of money and time. So you have to be really positive in thinking, what is that plan to get myself to profitability, have a target, have a focus, but while you're doing that, understand how to manage the money. And there's a big difference when you're managing the money. One company we had, they started off with growing. Everything was about the numbers. We've now got 22 employees, we're going like crazy. Then boom, they got hit with a ton of bricks, which was an issue with one of the social systems. They tried to fight through it. We kept telling them, look, you need to think further ahead. You got to start thinking about how can I actually cut costs and start optimizing so that if there is a rainy day or there's an issue, I can think forward to make sure that I can correct it and I have money in the bank to do that and I can keep my sales trajectory going forward. So they got hit with the big stick. They pulled back. They clicked. And now they're down to 9 people from 22, and they're going to be 4 months out of profitability. The company went to a slower position, and now it's on a steady growth projection. So they took some time, figured it out, and now they've got 12 months of runway. They didn't burn the money. They got close to, but they started to think about how am I going to get here and how can I be more strategic? How can I spend the money in the right spots so I'm getting back 2-3 times that money? So you do have to keep that in mind. It becomes a pretty detrimental when you're spending to the next raise. You got to think about how do I actually be more accomplished in that and be strategic to make sure I can last 12 months and grow in a hockey stick curve, because that's what people are looking for, or advisors and investors are looking for.
This question for you. I'm hearing a lot about cost of marketing. As people who are founders, we're looking at technology and thinking that way. But what I'm hearing is, geez, that's great you got this technology. That's on you. You built that. But my God, my money that I'm giving to you, you better have it clear and the cheapest, the most effective marketing strategy. Is that what you guys are thinking?
When you're investing, you're looking at growth. You want to be able to execute and grow. The hardest thing is to invest in a company that's not growing and they're just trying to build through tech, because then your money is going into actually helping you build the product. And then when you need to actually grow, you don't have any money to grow there. So there are different investors that come in at different times, but a lot of the times in angel world, you're looking to help growth. So you're already moving quite well, you've got a great tech, everything's moving, and you're gonna take this money and 10 times your business, or 2 times, 3 times, you're gonna grow it. The last thing they wanna look at is, here's some money to help you fix the problems you're having, because then that slows things down. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, it's there, but you want to look at how do I grow the business. And marketing and sales is pretty key to any business. If those are the weakest parts and you got a great tech, then you might end up having a great tech and no sales.
What I've noticed with the pitches that have been done, and I don't mean to disparage anybody, very few have talked actually, well, I'm sorry, I missed the first one, I'm just looking at it here, sorry, is they never really talked about your sales team or that kind of structure. That is viewed as a weakness by the investors that are looking at this potential?
Yes and no. The key to that aspect of the business, when they talked about it, like when Boken talked about his team, what got everybody excited was the fact that you have people that have been through the ringer, they understand the model, they get the architecture of it, they understand the tech. They're also salespeople. Your CEO is in meetings selling. He's talking to that next company that's going to come on board. They're all part of it. They're not hidden somewhere else and just Boken's out talking to people. So those people are also helping sell. If they're closing together, they're closing individually. So those people are being groomed as part of your top sales team because they have a part of the business, but they also want the business to move forward. So you kind of have to groom your team in that sense. You will get into marketing and sales. That's more deep dive material. And as you start to get your business into a Series A, into a lot larger company, things change a little bit in that aspect because now you can find key people that fit in different key areas. When you're smaller, you can't exactly have a CFO, a CMO, a CTO, and all that. They're all expensive. So you're going to work with what you have and be as efficient as possible. And those are the people who are going to be your sales team. And the ones that have the best background means that they have the best connections. They're the ones that are going to be out working with you to hustle to grow your company.
One other thing too is looking at the team and their track record in the past. Have they done it before, right? Have they grown the company to a certain stage that has either been acquired or has grown organically in terms of revenue, hit profitability, all of those items. So sales and marketing is important, but more important is the core team itself and what value they bring. You're a good example. Hey, I did a search and I actually know this guy, and he is amazing. You're right. That goes a long way, right? So the DNA of the core team and what they can bring to helping this opportunity achieve the growth that they've been able to do in the past.
You're building a comfort level, right? So the more knowledge that Angelo has, the more comfortable you will to close the deal. So everybody that Boken has that's up here that's a driver, that's going to bring a comfort level for you. So as an owner, the key to anything you do in your business at this point in time when you're early stage is all about de-risking your business. Try and do all the things that are going to help de-risk it as much as possible. Because when you de-risk the business and I come in and I tell you, I'm doing $1 million in sales, I have the pipeline that has 50 companies in it. These are the 4 guys, they all work for IBM, Microsoft, Cisco, and we're building out this new IoT device that's going to go anywhere in the world. It carries miles with using Bluetooth technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be like, holy, how did he score this up? And you're in. Because we de-risked it, we found every single piece that made the most sense that would help you think, man, I have to go into these guys or I have to work for these guys because they got everything together and they're getting rid of all the crap that others haven't been able to get to. And that's what allows you to feel comfortable and want to dive in quicker. So de-risk your business as much as you can. And we can chat more, obviously. There's always lots of time to chat, but let's jump into our next pitch, and that is Staffy. Come on up. Let's hear it.
All right, I can do all this. All right, sounds good. How you doing, guys? Good. Thanks for having me. My name's Peter. I'm the founder of Staffy. Staffy is an on-demand staffing platform for the hospitality industry, and you'll excuse me because I'm a wanderer, so sorry if it's hard to keep track of me as I go back and forth. But anyway, I started Staffy in 2015 as an on-demand solution for the problem that plagues the hospitality industry, which is absenteeism. So your dishwasher, your line cook calls in sick, and what do? You scramble, you try to get people to come in on their day off, you have to incur extreme amounts of overtime, all these kind of things. And there's been no real solution for a long, long time. But what we realized is that the problem is much bigger than we anticipated because there's 72% turnover in the hospitality industry, meaning you're going to lose more than 2/3 of your staff every single year. There's the 10% absenteeism problem. And there's also, it's a rigid labor market. So, if you want to hire 10 people for the summer, you have to go out and interview 200 people or, look at 200 resumes, interview 50, and maybe, if you decide to hire 5, none of those people, 5 of them, 2 or 3 of them are not going to show up. So we created this marketplace that provides a fluid and scalable workforce that responds instantaneously to requests. And really, we have a rating system similar to Uber. The staff are notified instantaneously of shifts that are available. And it's really been quite successful. So our business model is that we charge a 25% service fee on top of whatever the whatever the rates are negotiated on the marketplace. So if the staff is making $20 an hour, we're making $5 an hour. And so our value prop becomes that the companies can gracefully reduce their absenteeism, and it goes from 10% down to almost less than 1%. Much lower cost versus an agency, so they're saving about 17% on an hourly basis. And it's a fluid, scalable, and fast response workforce. For our contractors, we provide them with much better pay because most of the money that a company pays us goes to the contractors instead of into our pockets. We provide them much faster pay, so we pay more than 8,000x faster than they would get paid if they're working with an agency. So we have an instant pay system. And they get to work with their own schedules, so the freedom to work where and when they want, and that's quite powerful. And a lot of us probably don't understand that because a lot of people that are in the hospitality here are fairly transient, given the high turnover in the industry. So there's always a flux and change. Our market size is very significant. There's 80, the market size in the whole of North America is about $83 billion of part-time workers. There's about 42.5 billion that are working of market size that is in the hospitality industry, and our potential revenue in the entirety of the market is about 8 billion. But if we were to just capture 1.25% of the market, our company would be a $100 million company. And I think that's a pretty conservative goal. So here are some of the results. Our average time to hire is seconds to minutes to hours. With traditional methods and agencies, it's weeks to months. Our average fill or hire rate is around 98%. With traditional methods, it's around 34%. And our onboarding time is minutes, so people can come on our platform, get vetted, and hypothetically be on our platform within minutes, where traditional companies and agencies, you have to go in for an interview, and it's not overly scalable. So we provide that scale for this model. Also, 50% of our shifts were filled within 5 minutes. So a company says we want to hire somebody, they can often get people responding in seconds, but on average it's about 5 minutes. So here's how we've been growing. So we've been growing about 100% per year. That's mostly organic and word of mouth and referral growth. We haven't really had a lot of capital to deploy to encourage sales. So a lot of it's been organic. And our supply side is also becoming far less costly than it was. As you can see from the chart, our SEO and all the other things are becoming more and more prevalent. There's word of mouth, there's virality to what we're doing, and there's economies of scale, and all these things are coming into effect at the same time to drive our cost of acquisition down on our supply side and increase the engagement. Also, for our client side, our LTV or long-term value is about $3,000, and our cost of acquisition is about $150, which we're working to improve as well. So we have a really good team of very complementary skills. Mukesh is a gentleman that joined us from India. He built an Uber for rickshaws, essentially, that was doing 2,000 rides per day. And if we were doing 2,000 shifts per day, we'd be around $100 million again. So he's quite good, and we have a very frugal, very efficient team. We've been bootstrapped largely, and growing through revenue and organic growth and whatnot. Clients, we actually have some of the biggest clients in the world on our platform already. We just recently were accepted to submit an RFP with Compass Group after having successfully completed an RFI. You'll be seeing us on Top Chef and Master Chef very soon. We are the official staffing partner of Restaurants Canada. And we also work, we're working with Platters, which is an on-demand catering company, one of my friend's competitors here. And they're one of our clients, so hopefully you will be too soon. And we've got a number of great channel partner in the works. So these channel partners will allow us to scale very, very efficiently, so that we don't have to spend a lot of money on sales and marketing, and we can use them to scale and grow our business very quickly. So we're currently raising a $500K convertible note. We've raised about 50% of it, or filled about 50%. And when you see hiring there, we're looking at hiring a more robust marketing, management team. 30% would go to sales, and 33% go to marketing, and 10% to product. So that's my presentation, and that's the company. And if you're looking for an investment, come find me after the presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, you guys can. Do you want to start, Igor? Change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I steal the thunder.
So excellent presentation. I really like it. Okay, it's a great model, and some of the clients that you have. Okay, I know them personally. Okay, but I'll try to focus. Okay, on things that I didn't understand. Okay, it's mostly what's the like. You're looking for $500,000, okay, but over what period of time you're going to spend, okay, because you nicely divide it, okay, between marketing, sales, and other things. Also, how are you going to scale, like in terms of that's what I find is kind of not understandable for me. Overall, kind of the business model is nice, okay. The only difference, like how the clients or your existing clients is going to come back to repeat to you. Is it on a consistent basis, on a monthly, on a yearly basis? So for me, this is kind of so far the cost question. Yeah. So how the clients, okay, they come to you every month. Okay, what it's like every week, every 6 months. Okay, because from what I understand, okay, it's a contract, right? So those employees that you're going to provide. Or it's like, well, as long as they work. Is it some period of time?
They use us however they see fit. We typically see that our clients...
No questions. You guys can talk after. Sorry, man. Igor, man, what's going on? Just kidding.
Yeah, probably I'll talk after.
Yeah.
So while we're on that topic, what is your... No. Good job, Peter. And I know we've been meaning to get together, so yes. And we will do that. So yeah, I sure. Promise. On the market potential,
yeah.
I usually don't like if I could only capture 1.4% of the marketplace, I'm a $100 million company. That may be true, yeah. But I like to see that growth cycle as to how you get to that level, as opposed to just taking a flat percentage of the marketplace and the market potential. Yeah. It also I wasn't clear. Is the $8 billion potential your 20%, or is it the total cost? And I like to focus on what actually ends up in your pocket as opposed to the transaction, right? I had jotted down here, what the hell is the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value? And then you answered it, so good job. Well, we like to see those type of elements in terms of what is it going to cost to land a customer and what is going to be derived from that customer. You have an impressive customer list, and the Aramark, Compass, Sodexo, those are all like wonderful customers to have in your portfolio. To Igor's point, what I needed to know, is it a one-time engagement that you've had with these people? Do they sign up a multi-year engagement? What commitments do they have with you, so that you can ensure that they're going to be coming back to you on a regular basis, and so that's an ongoing revenue stream that you can capture. And on the ask, you had the 500,000 directed towards growth and marketing. That's great. I wanted to get a better sense of, even though it's a convertible note, what is the enterprise value of the company? And just the word of advice, if you're looking at a safe convertible note, you're going to have a lot of challenges from the investment community. Yeah, the Y Combinator may love it, so you may want to go down to California, but you're looking for money here. And so in Canada, we do like to see, as a minimum, an enterprise value attached to the instrument. So. Oh, one other thing. You should also talk about the exact current revenues and what your subsequent revenues are going to be moving forward.
Now I know what it's like to go third. Everybody else takes your ideas. But I just want to build on, it also struck me that 1% of the market thing, I just don't like to see it. If you're going to do it, then what I would like to see is a follow-up slide that shows me a realistic picture of how you're going to get there. So how many customers do you need to have to get to that point? Both on the, and how many customers from the staffing side and the hiring side do you need to have? Can you do that? What does your GTA market look like? And show me, as we talked about in the Q&A, show me the realistic path to cash flow positive and profitability in terms, in your case, in terms of the number of recruitments you have to make in order to get there. 1.5% of an $8 billion market doesn't tell me anything. It's a good teaser, but you've got to fulfill it with practicalities about how you're going to get there.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'll give you this. There you go. Okay, who's got questions?
Hi. How many people do you have on the app using it currently?
There's about 10,000 people that have downloaded the app and applied. We accept about 20% of them. There's about 150 to 200 people that are active on the app every month, and it's growing quickly.
So I'm curious, and maybe the investors would be interested in something like this. Do you monetize the app? Are there advertising?
In what way?
Is it an open source app? Can people advertise on it? Are you selling advertising space through it?
Not yet.
You've got a very engaged audience.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very active.
We looked at that and figured out that if we were to do advertising on the platform at this stage, that it would only be, like a couple $100 a month at this stage, but not to say that we wouldn't preclude ourselves from doing that in the future. But yes, we've been very frugal and somewhat careful about monetizing both sides of the marketplace. The company side is fairly rich right now, so we're trying to build critical mass and brand awareness before we decide to start making money off the supply side, essentially.
Okay, next question.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we work a lot in hospitality, and I'm going to group in full service restaurants and hospitality because...
Who's we?
My company.
Okay.
So particularly companies like Joey's, like on a national level, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to hiring, my hypothesis is that relationships do matter to them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a person that's working with other individuals in that company. And I just wanted to understand how, from your experience of running this for a while, has that been an issue? From hiring someone, has there been a clash in terms of culture? Maybe the person just doesn't get along, regardless of the rating system, right? Because ratings aren't perfect in our world, right?
I wouldn't say that's been a significant issue. It does occur occasionally. Like there was an instance yesterday where the guy's like, that he had a placement for like 3 months, and the guy said, there's a personality clash and we just like to replace him. So we build that. The value that we're providing is pretty significant to the companies that use us. So we're able to overcome those minor instances of, personality clashes or culture clashes. And people will just, if they don't like this person, they'll bring in somebody else. And oftentimes that person might be only there for a day or a week, so that doesn't become a great concern for us at this stage. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you qualify your staff? In the process, or do you see them in person? You've got different levels from your dishwasher you mentioned to a hostess to a server that needs to be smart served. So how do you qualify them?
Yeah, so I mean that's a fairly complicated question. There are a lot of different things that we do to ensure the quality of our staff, and our acceptance rate is only 20%. So the majority of people that sign up for the platform don't actually get approved. So we make sure that their experience is commensurate with their positions that they're applying for. They also do a background check as well as a skill testing, like a test or whatever. So we create a vested interest in the staff that are applying on our platform, because absenteeism, especially with a part-time job, can be very crippling. And so we make sure that they have a vested interest in the success of their platform. So we make them make an effort to come onto our platform. And we filter a lot of people out because they don't have enough experience. Sometimes it might not be a good personality fit, or they're too aggressive, or sometimes even too desperate kind of thing, and they're constantly messaging us. But when we started out, we were interviewing everybody that came on our platform and spending 15 minutes with them. But we quickly realized that that's not scalable. So we have to build an automated system to bring on and vet staff so that we can, go from 2,000 to 20,000 to 200,000 to 2 million hypothetically, and not have to interview every single one of us.
That goes to my question was on the scaling side, which is kind of key to your business or any startup business. How do you see that scaling happening, and how do you project that happening in the next year or two?
Yeah, so we're chasing about 7 or 8 different partnerships right now with a number of different companies that have thousands of clients, including Compass Group. Compass Group has 2,500 business units in Canada alone, and being a partner to them would cause our company to scale 20 or 30x. But there's about 7 or 8 different partnerships that we're working on, and I certainly think sales and marketing will be a huge part of our future. But currently, I think really figuring out who the channel partners are, and because we're still like a disruptive tech, I think it's key to seize on those partnerships now and worry about the broader market later. So get the channel partners, form strategic relationships, and we've already figured out that some of our channel partners like Lightspeed and 7 Shifts and those guys, we can quadruple sometimes the revenue that they're getting themselves just by giving them a small piece of what we're doing. And so it's very attractive for them to be potential partners for us because it gives them more revenue at very little cost.
No, that's good. Awesome. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, how many of you guys are startups? Yeah, I like it. Everybody's like, yes, we all are. All right, well, that's brilliant. Well, we can take probably 4 or 5 of you if you guys want to come up. We do the 30-second elevator pitch. So you guys make your way up to the front. What we do is, the whole point is that you guys get to showcase what you guys are up to and how you work and what you're looking for. So 3 things: your name of your company, and what you do. And you got 30 seconds to, ramble off your pitch, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, come on up. Let's go. Yeah, jump in. All right, let's do this. First one up. I time all this, so. All right, so your name of the company, and what you guys do. Ready? All right.
My name is Chansa, and our company is C Media Inc., and we are building a analytics and an engagement platform for offline experiences and live events, such as this, by leveraging visual media, which is all the photos and videos that people are taking now. You can find us at seenmedia.io, and I'm around if anyone wants to have a chat. Thank you.
And your name is?
Chansa.
Nice. All right. Thank you. All right, man.
My name is Bien, and I am the founder of Trio Automation. I help software founders grow their business and scale their infrastructure.
And your name is?
Bien.
Yeah, perfect. You know where to find them. Man, you guys are changing up on me. Now people are going 45 seconds. Now you guys are getting 15. You guys are getting too clever. I'm gonna say you got 9 seconds. Ready? Go.
Hi, my name is Philip. I'm a film director and founder of Against All Odds Pictures. We are developing Severance Day, a hard-hitting heist thriller that's going to be one of the most amazing film that comes out of Canada in recent years. We have a proven management team with heads of department that have worked on Emmy Award and Academy Award winning shows. And Toronto is poised to become pretty big with the streaming war coming, so Severance Day can reap us a big nice of that pie. And Philip at severanceday.com. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, sir. Hey, didn't you have a big announcement you were going to share?
Yeah, that's later. All right.
Hi, Patrick is my name. 75 million of adult Americans are sleeping with a person, partner who snores, and they therefore lose 2 hours of sleep every night. Now, most of this snoring can be eliminated by simply avoid sleeping on their back. And a sleeping trainer can do that. And we have developed the world's smallest trainer, Patrick.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Joseph, and I just want to introduce my company. I work for the Conify GMAT. So what we do is we teach students GMAT. So if you want to have a successful exit for yourself here, and come to us, we'll teach you how to get to Harvard MBA. Thank you. Joseph.
All right, thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
My name is Edward. I'm of Acquire Industries. We've developed a technology platform called HeatRoll. It's basically a printed, flexible electronic used for underfloor heating, snow melt, and the such. And actually, we're launching our smart heating campaign. We're basically going to change the heating industry here in Canada and really electrify heating. Thanks very much.
Your name is?
Edward.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Kumar Cherla, and how many people here know somebody who has had cancer? We are developing a cure for the side effect for cancer called neuropathy. I have neuropathy. Feel it every day in your feet, and that's what we're trying to find the cure for, working with University of Alberta, Toronto, Ryerson, and Montreal University. Thank you very much. Kumar Cherla.
Thank you very much. All right, last one.
My name is Trevor Henry, and CEO of Just Right Precision Painting, and we're working on painting robots to make painting more efficient for the construction industry, contractors and whatnot. Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor. All right, guys, thank you very much. That was good. We're going to get into our final pitch, and when we're done that, we actually will have some pizza as well over on the side. So we'll stick around, network, and everybody will get a bite to eat. Sengoki, you're up.
As opposed to married. Which one's better? Oops. You're eating into his time.
Sorry, the system wanted to crash. All right, well, there you go. So one hand up when you got one
Good. There we go. Awesome. Hey guys, how are you? Good. I'm Villard from Single Key. Our mission at Single Key is to simplify renting and make it risk-free for landlords. We are here seeking a $200,000 investment in exchange for a $2 million at a $2 million valuation. So by far the best deal of the night. Get in before it's gone. All right. So when we first started this project, this company, we spoke to a lot of landlords, and we found out that the number one pain point was actually finding the right tenant and managing the risk when it came to running their property. In a recent survey, 68% of respondents cited that late payment or non-payment of rent. Is that better? Yeah? Yeah, late payment or non-payment of rent was their number one concern. So our solution to address that was to actually launch a rent guarantee program. We pay your rent even if your tenant does not. The way our rent guarantee program works is 3 steps. First, we actually screen your prospective tenants to make sure that we place the best tenant in your property. We then collect the rent using our online payment platform, and we guarantee the rent. So if your tenant misses a rent payment, we pay on their behalf. We continue to do that until we actually remove the tenant from the property. So we also take on the responsibility of the eviction process. Our goal here is to provide a peace of mind and a headache-free experience for the landlord as they're managing their properties. In exchange for the service, we charge a 3% monthly fee on their rental revenue. And in order to actually support this program, what we do is we actually built an end-to-end platform to really streamline each of the steps that the landlord goes through when they're finding and onboarding a tenant. So these are the 6 steps that you always go through. Our objective with our end-to-end platform is to really save you a lot of time as you're going through this process. And the way we've done that is by actually really taking a lot of the paperwork, bringing it online, and simplifying it and streamlining it. As an example, the first step is you have to actually advertise your unit online. We've actually built an export function that you can take your property and automatically post it on all the marketing websites. Next, you have to gather information, so we have a digital application process you can use for that, and also upload all the documents required. We screen the tenants for you. For the lease, we actually have a smart lease feature that really kind of autofills the standard lease agreement. In addition to that, also adds a lot of the, it'll also make a lot of suggestions for additional terms to include in your lease so that you can protect yourself as a landlord. Lastly, we collect payments for you. We actually have an online platform that debits the tenant's account on the first of the month regularly. That means no more late payment for you, so that's great. Lastly, we do deal with evictions. So the good news here is that if you do actually run into a delinquent tenant, we save you a lot of money because delinquencies can be very expensive. The average eviction rate time in Toronto is about 4 months. So you're looking to lose about 4 months worth of rental income, plus all the legal costs if you do run into a delinquency. We also save you a lot of time from this 20-hour process of onboarding the tenant by giving you free access to our platform and hopefully reduce that time by 5 hours. Okay, so in terms of market size, so the Canadian rental market is about $50 billion in size. From that, we actually target the individual landlords. You can't see the value there, but it's about 49%, so about half that market. This is a growing slice of the pie here. That's about $24 billion in annual rent payments. If we capture 10% of the market, which is optimistic, it is about $2.4 billion, and at a 3% lease guarantee fee, that equates to about $100 million revenue for Single Key. In the U.S., the rental market is about 10 times the size of Canada, so there's a lot more opportunity for growth in that market. Okay, so the individual landlords that we talked about, now these are the folks that really own a couple of properties here and there, but not the entire building. So we're not going after the professional REITs and apartment building owners. You've got 2 types of individual landlords. You've got the hands-on that really do everything themselves. You've got the hands-off that really don't have the time, so they'll hire a property manager or a realtor to find them a tenant and manage the property. The way we target both of these is very different. So for hands-on landlords, we actually go directly to them. We will pick up the phone and call the folks that are marketing online looking for a tenant, and we'll advertise our services. We can also reach them through online advertising. Here's an actual Facebook campaign that we ran. Igor, I'm really anxious to kind of talk to you. I'm looking forward to talk to you to kind of reduce that acquisition cost to hopefully below $175. For the hands-off landlords, we actually have to work with their property managers and their realtors to gain access to them. Why would they work with us? Well, 3 reasons. First of all, we do provide referral incentives. We protect their clients, and in doing so, we also protect their reputation, as we protect them from default. And lastly, we save them a lot of time by giving them free access to our leasing software, which can, for them, it's actually very valuable because they go through this process on a continuous basis, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback on the time savings there. I want to introduce you to the team. I wanted to first highlight Salim. Salim is really our kind of our credit guru. He is bringing in his Wall Street kind of investment banking experience to really build our credit policy and to making sure that we are underwriting our guarantees in a safe and well-managed manner. I'm the business development lead. Hillary is leading our marketing campaign, and Mike is our tech innovation expert. In addition to that, we also have a roster of advisors guiding us through the, to help guide us through the real estate space, entrepreneurship, and legal space. Business model. So I've actually made 3 assumptions here. These are the unit economics for 1 lease guarantee per 1 unit. I'm assuming a 3-year tenure for the landlord, a rent of $2,000 per month for the unit, and a guarantee price of 3% or $60 a month in this case. This equates to $2,160 in revenue. Once we remove some of the variable costs associated with customer acquisition and rent processing, plus a $720 or 1% provision for credit losses, we're left with a $1,400 profit margin. So it's about a 6% margin. Which, and by the way, this is actually only applying to the rent guarantee. In the near future, we're also looking at future revenue opportunities such as referrals for maintenance services, for tenant insurance, and other services that landlords need. The other one is the paid subscription. So currently we're offering our software for free, but as a new version is released in March, we are going to be charging about $30 per user on that one. Here's what the competition looks like. We're actually comparing among 3 different axes here. So we're comparing on the pricing, we're comparing on whether or not they offer a rent guarantee, and also the features that our software offers. You can see here that the main competitor that we have is Casalova. They're a much higher price. These guys are actually a full-on property manager, so it's a completely turnkey solution. I would say what differentiates us in the market is that we are positioned in a way like a technology platform, and it allows us to actually partner up with the existing ecosystem of landlords, property managers, and agencies to empower them with the technology and the guarantees to serve their customers, as opposed to competing directly head-to-head with them, which is what Casalova is doing. That'll allow us to grow faster, catch up to them, and hopefully exceed their user base. We are a fairly early on company. So far, we do have an actual MVP in market. So we spent the summer really going out there and acquiring users, piloting with a lot of the major realtors and property managers in the market, such as Royal LePage, Remax, Dreammaker, and Dash Property Management. We were able to get 130 properties on our platform, but we were also able to get a lot of great feedback through those pilots. As a result of that, we are actually going back to developing our software. We're adding 2 new awesome features to complete the end-to-end aspect of our platform to really save landlords a lot of time and our partners a lot of time and add a lot of value. In March, we have our new release. We're going back to market to then continue to drive our traction and customer acquisition. These are some of the targets that we're looking at. In 12 months, we're hoping to achieve to sign 200 lease guarantees. By 24 months or 2 years, we're hoping to get to 1,000 guarantees, which brings us to almost $1 million in revenue. And by the way, 1,000 units, it's a very realistic number, guys. That's basically one large condo development in Toronto. We'll have about 1,000 apartments in it. So it's totally achievable. In 36 months, we're hoping to hit $3 million in ARR. Now, to help us achieve these goals, we need to raise some capital. So we're asking for a $200,000 investment, a $2 million pre-money valuation. This will actually give us enough runway I believe, to reach $50,000 in monthly recurring revenue. The use of funds will be for operating expenses, for marketing expenses, to continue to make improvements to the software, and to actually set up a provisions account for losses that we will need to shield us so that we can grow safely. Thank you for your time, and if you'd like to know how to help out, like I mentioned, we're looking for seed funding. We're hoping to also acquire a talented full stack developer, and we're always looking for interested property management and realty companies. So thanks for your time.
Perfect. Angelo, you get to start.
Actually, I really liked your presentation, so I'm not sure what I can say other than I like your future monetization opportunities. So when I look at an opportunity, I not only look at the existing business that's occurring, but what other future growth potential is there for the company. I do think that you have more confidence in terms of your capture of the marketplace. You're 10% rather than 1%, so that's I like to see growth. I'd like to suggest also, you've got a pilot with Remax at the moment, and you're using your land grab as being your barrier to entry, which, depending on the space that you're in, can work. One thing that I would suggest you do is explore actually doing a pilot or a business arrangement with Aurea to see if your solutions can be tied into the organization and not be restricted to just one real estate group, and grow from there. And if that's possible, then you could even expand that to CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Board, to scale across the country. So if there's anything that I would like to see from the pitch is how do you go beyond the local marketplace and what opportunities exist beyond the local marketplace.
I really like the structure of your presentation. The information you put in there was good. The way I'm deliberately not using the mic here because the way you structured it was great. The information was all the information I was looking for. You need to work on your presentation style. You used way too many words. You tried to cram way too much into it. You need to speak with more authority in your voice. You need to spend a little bit of time deciding what it is you want the audience to get out of every slide, and make sure you put emphasis on what they want them to take away from the discussion. It seemed like a stream of consciousness. I know you were nervous. I'm nervous in presenting what I'm telling you right now in this way. It's a little bit different. But that's what you got to, your style just needs a little bit more authority to it and confidence behind it, and I think you'll get what is a very good deck and a very good presentation across a little bit better.
Yeah,
You can say that on the mic.
No, it's an interesting model, okay, especially I've dealt in the past with Casalova. It's actually a coincidence, okay. So I'm not 100% sure that based on what you said, okay, you're the real competitor, but frankly speaking, I like a lot of things, and it's a good business model, okay, but what I really didn't get, what's your current revenue? Okay, maybe I missed it, okay, that's the important part, because you started with evaluation, okay, but if you start in evaluation, okay, tell how much money you make, so it can be together. I think you put like some numbers, okay, that how you're going to spend $200,000, and for this industry, if you're going to spend $200,000 just on marketing, it's a drop in the ocean. Okay, you're going to one of the most expensive industries, which is real estate online. So I think I can reveal, okay, the numbers, okay, but $200,000, some of your competitors, okay, were spending within a few months. Okay, so that's a concern. Also, the fact that you're going to invest in the technology, it's also raised red flag, because at the end of the day, marketing goes hand to hand with the technology, and I've seen multiple times hiccups with the technology, or not necessarily hiccups, okay, I would say some deficiencies, and as a result, okay, the marketing money was going to garbage. But overall, okay, the Facebook strategy, it's a good strategy, but Google AdWords, okay, is going to be more effective. And lastly, risk factor, okay, you're saying you guarantee that you're going to pay back to the landlord, okay, but what is the risk factor, okay, because you're not, you don't have a crystal ball, so you're gonna make some mistakes, okay, you can't predict, okay, just all of it, so how many out of, let's say, 100 rented units, okay, that you're going to guarantee, how many of them, okay, will not pay on time and will not pay at all? So that's just my feedback.
Okay, perfect, thank you guys. Filler? Okay, any questions?
Thanks for the feedback, guys. That was great.
I have two questions. So the one question is, I have actually my family and the relatives into real estate, just renting the room or the property, and they're not really this computer or smartphone literate. And how are you going to capture those guys into your app? And the second thing is, I have actually, maybe this is a good opportunity for you. I have a couple of my actually relatives owning a building, and they're renting out the room in South Korea. Do you have any thoughts about expanding your business overseas, if that's possible? Thank you.
I'll start with the second one. And absolutely, I think I illustrated the opportunity in the US for this market. I think what got us excited about this idea, especially the guaranteeing aspect of it, is that we saw this as pretty much almost a household item in Europe. Cities like Paris, London, getting rental insurance is almost as common as having car insurance. We're talking 80% plus penetration rate in that segment. So in Canada and in the US, this is more of a kind of like it's just starting out, and it's definitely a nascent market. So we're hoping to kind of really become one of the companies that is really pushing that effort here. In Korea, it'll probably take a bit longer to get there. In terms of kind of backward compatibility, our infrastructure was actually developed to support really our KYC and fraud management aspect of our business to really kind of operationalize the guarantee. We discovered an opportunity for efficiency when we started going to customers and talking to them and kind of demoing the platform, and we found out that there's really no onboarding process optimization or kind of like no leasing software out there. So based on the feedback we got from customers, we then started developing that because we thought it would be a great fit into our kind of like product. That being said though, we do accommodate kind of customers that are not tech friendly by basically just taking the paperwork and uploading it online, and it's just a setup process that we can then proceed with the rest of the service. Thanks for your question.
Okay. Oh, question in the back. While I make my way over there, the real estate agents, do you find that they like your product? They find it competes with them? They find it complementary? Obviously, the business owner can see a value, but how do they see the value?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's really our differentiator. Unlike companies like Casanova, who really are out there, finding tenants, they're out there managing properties. They're really competing hand to hand with the existing ecosystem. I think what kind of sets us apart is the fact that we're providing tools of efficiency to the existing ecosystem. So like we're saving time to existing realtors and property managers, and they find this very valuable because if you save a couple hours every time you set up, you find and onboard a tenant, and these guys are doing 10 a week, that really adds up. For them, time is money. So it's a very complementary service.
It looks to me that the platform is set up for long-term rentals primarily. Have you ever thought about going down or future deliverables for shorter terms?
Yeah.
And what's that look like?
We did initially kind of flirt with that idea. The short-term market, especially here in Toronto, is really kind of ballooning. It's really growing quickly presently. The risk there is much more difficult to control, given the short-term aspect of it. So I, in the near future, it's not in scope, but it's something we're looking to explore further down the line.
So this work only for new landlords that are looking for new tenants?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. We do get a lot of, especially when we partner up with property managers, they say, hey, Viller, you guys are underwriters, why don't you just take our whole portfolio and we'll basically go and market all of them so that we can acquire, we can provide your guarantee service to pretty much all our existing landlords if they're willing to take it on. The challenge I have with that is that there's a bit of a selection bias. The folks that are going to come to us are the ones that are having issues with their tenants, first and foremost. So I'd rather be the person that really vets a tenant up front and gets to approve or decline who gets, basically guaranteed. And that's a big kind of like risk management piece there.
That's actually a pretty valid point. I got a bad tenant. Can you take this over and run it for me? I don't want my money.
Okay, so I got two questions for you. One is, so let me understand, you guaranteed the rents, so if they don't pay, you pay, and you also guarantee the eviction cost?
Yeah, okay. Great question. So basically, we do that. So we guarantee up to a 12-month period or until we can get that tenant out. Now, we don't actually do a lot of that work ourselves. We do work with paralegal teams that's their business, so they know how to do it really well. But you know what? I think there's definitely a lot of kind of, there's definitely a bit of a knowledge base there. When it comes to dealing with the tribunal, with the tenant board, you need to fill out those forms very carefully. You can't make mistakes, especially how you serve the form. So there's definitely a bit of know-how that will cost you time when you're going out there and trying to get a court date. So we think that by kind of like us taking that over, really using best practices and working with paralegals to go through that process, there's definitely time savings that we can kind of reduce that eviction time as well to make sure that we get tenants out in 3 months instead of 9, right? So.
And my second question is, say that you find me a tenant, and after the first year, usually the lease is for 1 year.
Yeah.
After the first year, do you continue to collect 3% from me or no? Like how would you prevent people from just say, okay, let's cut a deal, me and you, like kick this guy out, and I say 3%?
Yeah. So two things. First of all,
shouldn't think that way.
Just yeah. Okay, so I know that in existing, especially in Toronto, like rents have been going up every year, right? 20% increase. So I get people all the time asking me, "Hey, Viller, do you mind kind of just removing that tenant so I can get another one in there to pay 25% more?" Unfortunately, we don't do that. The only reason we do evict someone is for non-payment of rent, and that's part of the reason why we control the payment of rent as well, so we can know who's paying and who's not. The second piece of that is that we don't actually find tenants. Ours is more of a self-serve service and platform. You're responsible for advertising your own property or working with an agent to actually post that unit on MLS, get tenants to come in and view it, and then once the application comes in, which you can use our platform to do that, we'll compare the tenants, rank them, and help you pick the best one for your unit. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Good job. Okay, we're going to do one last thing. We have a draw, and you get a case of water. What's that? Oh, well, it's going to be packaged up. Don't worry, you'll get a case of water out of it. I'll hold, you pick. Joseph. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Good job, sir. All right, we'll put together a case of water for you, and you can, the only thing you have to do is take lots of pictures and social feed it like crazy, because you got to support everybody, right? It's not tough. You'll be here for about an hour photo shoot, so. All right, well, everybody, thank you very much for coming out tonight. We do have pizza over here that's going to be served. YSpace, thank you very much for being awesome. Thank you very much for everybody coming out. Let's thank the Angels for all their feedback. Let's thank the startups for getting out the cobwebs and coming up. That was great. And we'll see everybody on February 27th at City Hall. So thank you very much, guys. Have a good evening, and hope you stick around and network.